Hi everyone, I'm Helen, a placements advisor from the Career Service, joined today with Kate, who's also a placements advisor, and we're going to take you through the session that was available through the placements team. So that was the placements uncovered getting started. So I'm going to quickly share my screen. Great, just take you back to the beginning of the presentation there. So the placements team is made up of my manager, Leslie Wilson, Kate, myself and Tom, who are placements advisors, and Mona Wilson, who's our placements coordinator, who some of you might have heard from already. So the placements team are there to help you before, during and after your placement if you were successful in gaining one. So we will be updating the team site regularly with posts of opportunities that are available, with events that might be suitable for you, and then resources to help you with deciding where you want to do a placement, what kind of opportunities are good for you, and how to start searching and applying for placements. So how it works. There's a module requirement for each placement. So this needs to be 9 to 12 months and it needs to be taken in the penultimate year of your studies. So that means that your course will be extended by a year. In terms of finances, you'll be eligible to get a reduced maintenance loan. This is quite significantly less than your normal maintenance loan, so it's definitely worth factoring in, although a lot of placements are paid. And you can also access the tuition fee loan, which is the price of £1,385 through student finance like normal. There's also a lot of support available, like I mentioned along the way, and by the end of this session, hopefully you'll get to understand what that support is. So in terms of your placement search toolkit, we've got a number of things. So first of all, I'm going to quickly take you around the team site that you should have all been added to. So it looks like this. It's a Microsoft Teams site and it's called Finding a Placement 22-23, because that's when you would be taking a placement if you are successful. In the general channel here, we've got a brief overview about what's in the section, what's in the team in general. It takes you through to this first bit, preparing to find a placement. So this is a pathway. We'll go into what a pathway is in more detail a little bit later, but basically this is a really good way for you to understand what kind of opportunities might be good for you, what kind of sector, what kind of role, if you're in the stage of your placements journey where you're still not quite sure what's best for you. So you can access it by clicking on the link here, but we'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. So the searching and applying sections of the team site are going to get moved over to a pathway soon. That should be launched within the next few weeks. But for the time being, you can access the information on here, and there's lots of different tabs at the top that'll take you through the different sections. So finding a placement is a good place to start. It's helping you understand the two different routes to finding a placement. So advertised opportunities, but also creating your own opportunity, which a lot of our students do. Then another good thing to do is set up alerts. So that's through My Career, which we'll get onto a little bit later, but also through external websites as well, if you are looking for advertised opportunities. And then when it gets to applying, there's a whole lot of resources available to you. So whether you're doing a speculative application to an organisation you're interested in working in, you've got a specific application or CV for a job that you've seen advertised, you can come in and use the one-to-one resources as much as you want for as many applications as you want. So we would definitely encourage you to use those services as much as possible. Got the little tabs with more information down here, and then a chance to speak to an advisor, which I think is really important. And then, as I mentioned before, we've also got the announcements channel. This is really good where to get an understanding of our top picks. So this is by no means the kind of range or number of placements available. This is just ones that we have particularly seen that we think might be interesting to you, or through organisations we know who are particularly interested in Newcastle University students. Rona will also point you towards events that are happening that might be good for you, but this is just the kind of tip of the iceberg. So setting up those notifications to see when advertised opportunities are available, making sure you keep on top of our events calendar at the Career Service is also a really good idea. Great. So also on the Teams website, we've just added a placements tracker. This is actually an idea we stole from a former placement student who said that when she was applying, she kind of lost track of the people she was applying to. You know, she got an interview for someone and hadn't even remembered applying to them. So the placements tracker is in the tab in general, and it will take you to an Excel document that you can download. And then whenever you apply for an opportunity or speculatively apply for an opportunity, you can pop it in that form. And then there's a few actions that you can do. So if you need to kind of send a thank you email or follow up on something, it kind of just helps you keep on top of things. And we do see students applying for 20, 30, 40 plus opportunities. This is no reflection on you. It's just, you know, really competitive out there. And especially for speculative applications, it can take a couple before you get a response. But at this stage, I would just say that placement tracker is really useful for keeping on top of that. Also just to keep up your motivation, because hopefully it will pay off in the end. So, Kate, I'm going to pass over to you to talk about pathways. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Helen. So I will just share the screen with you when I can. It doesn't seem to be letting me. 2 seconds. So I'm going to get the pathway up to show you here. So just to explain a little bit about what a pathway is, it's a workflow which is created in My Career, which you can access through the Careers Service website. It'll ask you to log in, and then if you find the preparing to find a placement year pathway, this is what you should see, or something very similar to this. So it's created with different levels within it, just to make things a little bit clearer and give you a bit of a journey as to the kind of steps you should be taking if you are at the stage of preparing to find your placement year. So this particular pathway has been created very much for if you're at the stage where you're not really sure at the moment what kind of placement year exactly you want to do, what's going to suit you and your skills best, and you want to explore that a little bit and maybe get some more work experience whilst applying for placements. So if you're pretty sure what you want to do, then the next pathway, which Helen mentioned, which is going to be coming in the next few weeks, will probably be more for you, but it's still worth having a little look through some of the activities in here. So just to show you a couple of the activities we've got. In this first level, there is the reflect level. So it's really about starting to think about what kind of placement might suit you. So in this first one, we have got a video, which is about career planning and thinking about what kind of career will suit you in the long term, and obviously how a placement year can tie into that. We've then got some things about exploring your options and lots of links to relevant spaces on the Careers Service website where you'll find relevant information. There's also a few different icons on the pathway which you'll see, which give you the option to book different types of appointments as you go through with members of the Careers Service staff, and that's really to give you any one-to-one help that you'll need, and would really recommend taking advantage of that. It's something which we'll talk about kind of throughout, talking about the support which the Careers Service can give you generally, but please do take advantage. You can book all the appointments through the Careers Service website anyway, through My Career, but this just gives you a direct link to access that support. So as you can see, coming down onto the second level, once you've got an idea through the first level of what kind of placement you might be interested in, the second level then gives you some resources to start researching those kind of placements and sectors and jobs. So you'll start to get an idea of what each kind of activity looks like, and it really gives you some links and a bit of an activity there to start thinking about what kind of placement's right for you and how to find out more information about that. The pathway has been designed so that you don't have to go through every single step. It's very much for you to dip in and out of what's relevant for you and which areas you need to work on. So you can really just come at it as you need to. As you can see, it then goes on to gaining experience and getting things like your CV and covering letter ready. So it really covers everything to get you ready for starting to apply for placements. So that's the pathway. I'll stop sharing that one now, and just to show you a little bit now about the Careers Service website briefly. One of the reasons we've created the pathway is really because there is such a huge amount of information on the Careers Service website that it can be a little bit overwhelming to find the specific parts that you need when searching for a placement or starting to think about that. But there really is such a lot of relevant information on the website as well that it's worth having a look through yourself. So as you can see down the side here, it's split up into different sections, which is going to help you throughout the recruitment process of applying for placements. So everything from the initial CVs, applications, LinkedIn profiles, through to interviews and assessment centres. And for each section, there is so much information, and also information on the support that you can access through the Careers Service, through events, one-to-one appointments, workshops. So it's really worth just having a little look through here. You can also find lots of information about placement years in the placement year section as well, and our contact details on there if you need them, and to find out a little bit more about the Careers Service placement year specifically. So we recommend you have a little look on there, as well as the pathway and the team site. So it's really just to show you exactly what there is on offer for you to help you at this stage of your placement search.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Okay. Fab. So, Kate, do you want to run through some top tips, and then we can always go over to some kind of common questions that we get on placements?
Yeah, thank you, Helen. So yeah, a few top tips just to run through with you for this point in the year. It's important not to panic. We find that a lot of students feel, because there are a lot of placements advertising around this time of year, that there's a real rush to find a placement. And it is the best time to start thinking about it now and to start applying, but don't let that panic you. There are lots of placements which advertise throughout the year. Our deadline for having found a placement and told us in the Careers Service about it is actually the end of July 2022. So there is lots of time for you to find a placement, however that happens for you. If you're going overseas, it's a little bit earlier, it's the middle of May, and you can find those exact dates on our website. But important not to panic if you haven't got an offer really early in the year. It's not a race to find a placement the quickest. So keep going is our message with that. We would recommend you set up job alerts through My Career and any other website which you're using as well, so that you get regular updates on what opportunities are out there, particularly this time of year. There's lots of opportunities coming up, and sometimes closing dates can be quite soon, so it's important for you to know about them as soon as they start advertising. So set up job alerts through My Career. We'll have some information on the team site about how you do that, and also in the pathway if you would like to do that. Quality over quantity. So find that some students do apply for anything and everything, and although it's good to kind of be open-minded, which is our next point, you don't want to spread yourself too thinly and just be firing off very generic applications to a lot of different companies. We find it's much better if you are a little bit more selective about which placements you apply for, but put more time and effort into tailoring your applications for those placements and those companies specifically, and that's going to give you a much better chance of success rather than just firing off things which are very generic. But as I say on the next point, do be open-minded. You might have a favoured placement which you really have got your heart set on and want to go to, but it's important to have backup plans and apply for not just one or two placements which you've really got your heart set on, and be open-minded to other placements which might not be exactly the role that you're thinking about, but might be in something related or in a company you haven't considered before. It's important to be open-minded and keep your options open with that. So we'd like you to stay in touch with us ideally, so through the team site, you can speak to us through the chat function, or you can email us at the cs.placementyear@ncl.ac.uk email address, and one of the team will always get back to you. If you find a placement, or if you've got interviews and you're at the final stages of recruitment processes, let us know. We're always interested to hear where you're at, so please do keep in touch with us as much as you can. and use the teams, the pathways, all the resources that we've got there for you, and the support that's on offer from the career service as well. We have had students who've used the career service support throughout the recruitment processes that they've been in for placement years, and they've said that they don't think they would have got the placements that they got without that support. So it's all there for you to access. So we just really recommend that you try and take the support that's on offer kind of throughout and give yourself the best chance of getting those placements that you really want.
Thank you so much, Kate. That's really good. So normally at this point in the workshop, we would open the up to questions from the audience. So we'll probably do a few top tips or kind of call on some questions that we've had before, just to give you an idea. It's just to stress that this is just what happened to come up in other workshops. If you've got a question that you want to ask that doesn't get covered in this, or you think it might be a silly question or a small question, please don't worry. We would much rather you ask and get all the information you need to make an informed decision. But some of the questions we have had, I'm going to pass you over to Kate.
So the first question, which we've been asked a few times, is how would I go about getting a placement abroad or overseas? And the answer to that isn't always a straightforward one. We do have students who are overseas this year on placement, and lots of students are interested in finding a placement overseas. Our slight warning is that it can be more complicated to find a placement overseas. That's not a reason not to do it, but just to be aware that you probably will have to be quite proactive in finding a placement overseas. There aren't as many advertised placements overseas with bigger companies, so it's not as simple as just searching for opportunities and applying and getting your placement sometimes. It might take more research from you to find the kind of companies overseas and to actually approach them and ask for the kind of placement that you're looking for. So it's worth bearing in mind as well that you would need to look at visas and what you would need to do to apply for visas in any country overseas now. It used to be more straightforward to take a placement in the EU, but obviously now that's changed. So there is quite a lot of work that can go into that. If you are thinking about taking a placement year overseas, would recommend as a first step coming into the careers service and speaking to an information advisor and just getting some information from them about specifically the countries you're interested in, how employment might work there, what kind of placements you might be able to consider in those countries, and also to start researching to the visa advice for those countries as well. So a brilliant thing to be considering, but definitely something not to go into without considering it seriously and being ready to put that hard work into it as well. So another question, Helen, which I will let you answer if you're happy to. So we have quite a lot of questions about how you would approach a company and start to think about those speculative applications if you can't find the kind of things advertised through the bigger companies. So I'll let you answer that one, Helen.
Yeah, so it can feel a little bit daunting approaching an organisation who aren't advertising for placement students, but a lot of our students do go through a speculative approach to form their own placement or create their own placement with connections. So I would say, first of all, do a bit of research. If there is someone that you've always wanted to do work for, they could appear on your search, but maybe 5 organisations that you've identified you'd like to work for, and then do a draft CV cover letter. So in addition to the pathways we've already mentioned, there's a brilliant pathway for cover letters and CVs that have been created. There's an AI tool that can pop your CV into, and it comes up with some really good suggestions. And the whole idea is you can go through that and get your CV and cover letter in a really good place, and then come in for a one-to-one appointment, either virtually or in person, and get that checked out. And it's just making sure you're using the right kind of language and you're selling yourself properly to show how you could contribute to an organisation by asking them if they want to welcome a placement year student and what's required in terms of kind of the university, so we can help you with that as well. Using your network is also a really good thing, but I mean this in the kind of broader sense. So LinkedIn is a fantastic tool if you're looking. So when Kate was chatting about the overseas stuff, it made me think of using the alumni tool. That's also great for speculative approaches to organisations, identifying where students that have formerly studied at Newcastle University now work. So there is information about how to use the alumni tool on the Career Service website, and this will also appear in the pathway that's being launched next week. But what you can do is you can go on that tool and look to see who's graduated from your degree, look who's working in Australia who's graduated from your degree, and you could always reach out to them and ask. So if you were interested in Australia, for example, what the recruitment process is like over there, just get a bit of insight that way. Or if you're looking to get into a certain organisation in the UK, for example, through that speculative route, getting a bit of advice about if there's ever been a placement student before from a connection. So this is all about research. Again, come in and have that one-to-one with one of our colleagues, even if it's a kind of broad question of not sure, if you're not sure where to start with that speculative approach. But I would definitely recommend going through that CV and cover letter pathway from the outset. We've also got some really good information in one of the tabs on Teams, which is also going to appear on the pathway, about what a speculative application is, just so you can kind of get your head around what's expected of you within that.
Thanks, Helen. The next question which we've got is asking about deadlines, which we've already gone through, but also saying when is the right time to start applying, so just about kind of timings of the year. So now we would say is the best time to start applying, or to start really working through the pathways and thinking about what kind of thing you want to be doing and applying for. The big companies particularly are starting to advertise their placements earlier and earlier in the year. So certain companies have already probably had deadlines come up and stopped advertising, but now really is the time when a lot of companies are advertising their placements. So it's the best time to get started now, but equally don't rush yourself. We have students who find placements right the way through to next summer, and obviously the deadlines I mentioned next summer. So there is no reason why, you know, come next year, if you decide to pick things back up, if you've had a bit of a break or anything, then that's absolutely fine as well. So it's about matching up kind of when the placements are advertising to when it's right for you. If you're in a position to start applying now, then great, because there are a lot of placement opportunities out there, so it's a really good time to get started. But like we say, the actual deadlines to find a placement aren't until next year, so there's plenty of time for that. And then the final question we had from yesterday was about gaining work experience if you feel like you don't have enough work experience on your CV already to apply for placements. So I'll let you take that one, Helen, if that's all right.
Great, thank you, Kate. So in terms of experience, I'll start off by saying we do have students come to us who are maybe underselling the experience they do have. So even if you're looking for a role that you feel doesn't have a customer service element, but you've worked in a bar, there's plenty of transferable skills in terms of communication, team working. Customer service is really good, you know, communicating with people of different levels. But then if you are at the other end of the spectrum and haven't got any work experience you can talk about, there are opportunities available to you. So there's going to be recruitment open for the job suck temp pool. So that's jobs on campus. And basically it's a pool of students who, if you're successful and get through the interview stage, jobs will be posted, and then you will have kind of be up to you whether you want to take them or not. So it's a really good way of fitting it around your studies, but also if something doesn't seem appealing for you, you don't have any obligation to take it. It's also a really good way of getting a bit of experience in something that you haven't before. So if you've had mainly catering roles, it's a good way of getting some admin experience, but also it's a really good way of making a little bit of money as well. We've also got internships, which are longer term opportunities through the university. So Newcastle University works with businesses in the Northeast. And so that might also be an option for you alongside your studies or in vacation time. But also if you've done any kind of volunteering, even if it's just been a week somewhere, there is stuff that will be able to help you pull out of that experience that you can talk about in your CVs and applications. Employers aren't expecting you to have this wealth of work experience before applying for placement roles. They know you're still studying, but it's good to just have a bit of experience on there that you can talk about in a kind of full way. But as ever, there's loads of resources available. There's a part-time job section on the Career Service website, and we also have part-time jobs advertised on My Career. career. So whether you're looking for part-time experience, there's kind of resources available. Look out for the jobs of recruitment, but also if you have work experience, come in and learn how to talk about that in application forms. Great. Do we have any more questions?
I think that's all we've got.
Fab. So thank you so much for listening to this session. We hope it's been helpful. What we hope you've got out of it is a bit of an understanding of things that you can put into your toolkit to help you with your placement, research and searching and applying. But the main message is that we are here to support you. So if you've got any questions, like Kate said before, please do get in touch with us through the team site, the cs.placement year email address, or by making an appointment through My Career. Thank you very much.